Okay, now to begin again. New session. Now, good evening. Good evening, Seth. And we will begin with dictation. You also communicate your beliefs to others, of course. When visitors enter your home, they do not see it exactly as you do because they also view it through the screen of their beliefs. In your own environment, however, your personal beliefs will usually predominate. People with like ideas reinforce each other's beliefs. You may meet with some misunderstanding when you suddenly decide to change your reality by changing your beliefs. According to the circumstances, you may be going in a completely different direction than the group to which you belong. The others may feel it necessary to defend ideas that all of you previously took for granted. In such cases, your beliefs merged. Each individual has his or her own ideas about reality for reasons that seem valid. Needs are met. When you abruptly change your beliefs, then, in the group, you no longer have the same position. You are not playing that game any longer. In the group, you may suddenly cease to provide for the others a need that you satisfied earlier. This affects both intimate behavior and, say, social interactions. For a time, then, you may experience a feeling of loss as you move from one group of beliefs to another. However, others sharing your new beliefs will gravitate toward you and you to them. I will say more about this later in the book. But it explains, for example, why a diet watcher, suddenly determined to lose weight, may meet with veiled or even open resistance from family or friends. Why the person who makes new resolutions may find himself baffled by associates' ridicule. Why the alcoholic trying not to drink finds others tempting him quite openly or testing him into indulgence by hidden tactics. When someone who has been ill starts on the road to recovery through changing his beliefs, he may be quite surprised to find even his dearest allies suddenly upset, reminding him of the reality of his dire state for the same reasons. Because beliefs form reality, the structure of experience, any change in beliefs altering that structure initiates change to some extent, of course. The status quo, which served a certain purpose, is gone. New elements are introduced. Another creative process begins. Because your private beliefs are shared with others, because there is interaction, then any determined change of direction on your part is felt by others, and they will react in their own fashion. You are setting out to experience the most fulfilled reality that you can. To do this, you have, hopefully, begun to examine your beliefs. You may want others to change. In doing so, you begin with yourself. I told you to imagine a game in which you see yourself acting in line with the new desired belief. As you do so, see yourself affecting others in the new fashion. See them reacting to you in the new way. This is highly important because telepathically you are sending them interior messages. You are telling them that you are changing the conditions and behavior of your relationship. You are broadcasting your altered position. Some will be quite able to understand you at that level. There may be those who need the old framework and someone, if not you, to play the part you played before. Those people will either drop out of your experience or you must drop them from yours. Once more, if you think of daily life as an ever-moving three-dimensional painting with you as the artist, then you will realize that as your beliefs change, so will your experience. You must accept the idea completely, however, that your beliefs form your experience. Discard those beliefs that are not bringing you those effects you want. In the meantime, you will often be in the position of telling yourself that something is true in the face of physical data that seems completely contradictory. You may say, "I live amid abundance and am free from want," while your eyes tell you that the desk is piled with bills. You must realize that you are the one who produced that physical evidence that still faces you, and you did so through your beliefs. So, as you alter the belief, the physical evidence will gradually begin to prove your new belief as faithfully as it did your old one. You must work with your own ideas. While there are general categories of beliefs and general reasons for them, you must become personally aware of your own, for no one person is completely like any other. The old beliefs served a purpose and fulfilled a need. As mentioned earlier, you may have believed that of itself poverty was more spiritual than abundance, or that you were basically unworthy and should therefore punish yourself by being poor. You may take your break, and then later. According to your energy, power, and intensity, you can help change the beliefs of many people, of course. In your daily physical life, you are usually concerned simply with changing your beliefs about yourself, and then changing the beliefs others hold about you. You will find conflicting beliefs within yourself, and you must become aware of these. As an example, you may believe that you want to understand the nature of your inner self. You may tell yourself you want to remember your dreams, but at the same time still hold a belief in the basic unworthiness of the self, and be quite frightened of remembering your dreams because of what you might find there. It does no good in such a case to bemoan the situation and say, "I want to understand myself, but I'm frightened that I will not like what I find." You yourself must change your beliefs. You must stop believing that the inner self is a dungeon of unsavory, repressed emotion. It does contain some repressed emotion. It also contains great intuition, knowledge, and the answers to all of your questions. Listen to your own conversation as you speak with friends and to theirs. See how you reinforce each other's beliefs. See how your imaginations often follow the same lines. All of this is quite out in the open if you realize that it is. Almost everyone in this society is acquainted with the old suggestion, "Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better." Now, that is an excellent suggestion given by the conscious self to other portions of your being. The result of such a suggestion would also follow your conscious beliefs, however. Earlier, I used "I am a dependable parent" as an example of a belief. If to you this means I give great attention to seeing that my children brush their teeth, eat enough, and perform properly, then you will interpret the "better and better" suggestion in that light. If the belief means to you that love for children is best expressed in those terms, if you feel that there is something embarrassing about expressing affection directly, then the "better and better" suggestion may only reinforce that belief. You may become more and more efficient in that manner. This is what is vital, that you examine your beliefs. No, this is why it is vital that you examine your beliefs for yourself and understand what they mean to you personally. If, using that example, you suddenly began to realize your position and began to express your love to your children directly, you may find them quite surprised, delighted, but confused. It may take them a while to understand your reactions, but as the old reality had a cohesiveness, so will the new. You must therefore understand and examine your beliefs, realize that they form your experience, and constantly change those that do not give the effects you want. In such an examination, you will be aware of many excellent beliefs that work for you. Trace these through. See how they were followed by your imagination and emotions. If possible, look in your own past for points where recognizable new ideas came to you and beneficially changed your experience. Ideas not only alter the world constantly, they make it constantly. Now, we are nearly at the end of Chapter 4. I will give you both a rest, and we will resume at our next session. My heartiest regards to you both. Thank you very much, Seth. I'll read a little of this, of Rob's notes. This afternoon, Jane began to experience strong feelings of relaxation. These lasted well into the evening. Also, while lying down before supper, she received the last 3 words of the title for this book. Jane said she didn't want to postpone the session even though she felt so great, so much like just taking it easy. While we were talking about health in general, I wondered why so many people in our society wore glasses. I mention this here because the subject unexpectedly crops up in the session. Just before 9:45, Jane told me I could have material from Seth on the glasses ideal or on his book. Both channels were open. I chose this book, of course. It's funny, Jane said, but I know that the next chapter is there. It's about health and sound, inside sound and outside sound. She proved to be correct, but at the moment she was unable to elaborate. The house was noisy temporarily. A carpenter in a downstairs apartment was using an electric saw at frequent intervals as he repaired some of the damage caused by last June's massive flood. Jane's Seth voice was rather quiet, however. Good evening, Seth. Dictation. Let us go on to discuss the relationship between the inner self, your conscious beliefs, and your most intimate physical creation, your human image. End of Chapter 4. Well, that didn't take long to finish that chapter. Chapter 5. The constant creation of the physical body. The constant creation of the physical body, as mentioned in Chapter 4. The conscious mind is a portion of the inner self, that part that surfaces, so to speak, and meets physical reality more or less directly. You are mainly concerned now with physical orientation and the corporeal materialization of inner reality. Therefore, the conscious mind holds in ready access the information that you require for effective day-to-day living. It is not necessary that you hold in steady consciousness data that does not directly apply to what you consider your physical reality at any given time. As soon as the need for such data, aid, information, or knowledge arises, then it is immediately forthcoming unless your own conscious beliefs cause a barrier. The exquisite, precise, and concentrated focus of your conscious mind is quite necessary in physical life. It is because of this highly selective quality that you can tune into the particular range of activity that is physical. In their own way, animals also possess this selective consciousness. They also focus their attention in very specific directions, perceiving from a vast general field of perception, stimuli that is recognized and accepted in an organized manner. Now the animals' conscious minds, connected with their physical brains, make this necessary selectivity possible. Without it, there would be an out-of-focus effect that would make physical survival impossible. So certain portions of the inner self come to the foreground of being. Because your mind in life is connected with the brain and the physical organism, it is automatically attuned to corporeal reality. And to some extent, of course, it ignores some non-physical data that lies within any given field of perception. Quite simply, it does not allow it into its organizing perceptions. It, the data, is then blocked out. Again, this is quite necessary. There is some information and data that does not apply to physical reality. Some of it is perceived by non-physical entities who organize it into their system of reality where it does have meaning, but we will not be concerned with it here. While you are physical, then, you will always be concentrating upon certain data to the exclusion of other data. In other kinds of realities, you may ignore the physical system entirely, however, focusing instead upon those systems of existence that are not now recognized within your own. In your present life, the conscious mind assesses physical reality and has behind it all the energy, power, and ability of the inner self at its disposal. Any information that is required will be available. Its job is to assess that reality effectively using that fine focus mentioned earlier. Because of its character, consciousness, or the conscious mind, cannot be swamped by too much detail, too much information. The inner self sends to it only the information it asks for or feels necessary. To a very large extent, then, conscious beliefs act as great liberators of such inner data, or as inhibitors of it. Are you following me? Yes, Seth asked the question because of a prolonged burst of hammering from the apartment below. The conscious mind is itself developing and expanding. It is not a thing. It learns through experience and through the effects of its behavior. The inner self brings about whatever results the conscious mind desires. It does not leave the conscious mind at loose ends, nor isolate it from the fountains of its own being. Because the conscious mind is part of the inner self, it is obviously made of the same energy, filled with the same vitality, and revitalized by the deep sources of creativity from which all being emerges. You must understand that it is not cut off from the inner self. The inner self keeps the physical body alive even as it formed it. The miraculous constant translation of spirit into flesh is carried on with inexhaustible energy by those inner portions of being. But in all cases, the inner self looks to the conscious mind for its assessment of the body's condition and reality, and forms the image in line with the conscious mind's beliefs. So once more, you form reality through your beliefs, and your most intimate productions is your physical body. Your beliefs about it are constantly fed into inner data. You organize on an unconscious level the atoms and molecules that compose your cells to form your body. But the blueprint is made by your conscious beliefs. To change your body, you change your beliefs, even in the face of physical data or evidence that conflicts. You each have a body, and you each have a consciousness. You can practice with these ideals by applying them to your body. For now, we are taking into consideration the fact that, generally speaking, you are not going to make yourself 5 physical feet taller if you are a grown adult already, because there are certain physical laws with which you must contend. We will discuss those more fully later. In that context, you can even appear taller and affect others as if you were, which would usually be what you wanted in any case under the circumstances. But, except for some conditions, which will be mentioned later, you can become healthier if you are ill, slim if you are overweight, gain weight if you prefer, or alter your physical image in profound fashion through the use of your ideas and beliefs. They form the blueprint by which you make your body, whether you have known this or not. Your body is an artistic creation formed and constantly maintained at unconscious levels, but quite in line with your beliefs about what and who you are. You may take a break. Now, dictation. You constantly give yourself suggestions about your body, your health, or ill health. You think about your body often, then. You send a barrage of beliefs and instructions to the inner self that affect your physical image. As I mentioned earlier, your thoughts have a very definite, vital reality. Beliefs are thoughts reinforced by imagination and emotion concerning the nature of your reality. Now, thoughts in general possess an electromagnetic reality. But whether you know it or not, they also have an inner sound value. You know the importance of exterior sound. It is used as a method of communication. But it is also a byproduct of many other events, and it affects the physical atmosphere. Now, the same is true about what I will call inner sound, the sound of your thoughts within your own head. I am not speaking here of body noises, though you are usually oblivious to these also. Inner sounds have an even greater effect than exterior ones upon your body. They affect the atoms and molecules that compose your cells. In many respects, it is true to say that you speak your body, but the speaking is interior. The same kind of sound built the pyramids, and it was not sound that you would hear with your physical ears. Such inner sound forms your bone and flesh. The sound exists connected with but quite apart from the mental words you use in thinking. It might, and this is a note from Rob, it might be noted here that Seth devoted a group of sessions last November, December, and January to some of the meanings and uses of inner and outer sound. That material was new to us and included information on the Egyptians' use of inaudible sound to help build the pyramids. According to Seth, the Romans also employed such sound in erecting the enormous, truly awesome city of Heliopolis at Baalbek, probably saying that wrong, in what is now the Middle Eastern country of Lebanon. See the continuation of these notes at the end of the session. Okay, back to Seth. It does not matter in which language you are addressing yourself, for example. The sound is formed by your intent, and the same intent, I am putting this simply now, will have the same sound effect upon the body regardless of the words used. But usually you think in your own language, and so in quite practical terms the words and the intent merge. For all practical purposes then the two are one. When you say, I am tired, mentally you are not only giving silent messages to yourself. I say messages rather than message because the general statement is broken down. Many portions of the body must be affected before you feel tired. But beside this, the inner sound of the messages automatically affects the body in just that way. What should you do then if you find yourself feeling tired? This is your conscious assessment of your body's reality at a given time. You want to change it so you do not reinforce it. Instead, you say mentally that the body can now begin to rest and refresh itself. You take your initial judgment for granted then without restating it, and instead suggest the remedy be carried out positively. You can, if the conditions warrant, physically rest by lying down or making whatever adjustments seem appropriate. If none are possible, then several such suggestions that the body can refresh itself will give you benefit. To tell yourself over and over that you are tired, however, reinforces the condition. The inner sound value of the countering suggestion automatically begins to refresh the body. It is fashionable now to think about noise pollution, yet the same kind of circumstances occur with inner sound, particularly when your inner thoughts are self-contradictory, scrambled, and random. Diverse and highly conflicting instructions are then given to the body. As you should know, the body's inner environment changes constantly, and it is you who change it. Change is quite necessary, and as a rule, the body's overall balance is maintained. But the directions that you give are often not clear or advantageous, and your beliefs largely determine the kind of information you send to that environment. The inner self always attempts to maintain the body's equilibrium and health, but many times your own beliefs prevent it from coming to your aid, even half of the energy available to it. Often only when you are in dire straits do you open up the doors to this great energy, when it is much too clear that your previous beliefs and behavior have not worked. You have at your disposal the means to ensure your health. My friend Joseph, as Seth calls Jane, brought up a point, or as Seth calls Ron, brought up a point concerning this before our session. He wanted to know why so many in this country wore glasses. He wondered if people unacquainted with glasses and suddenly introduced to them would develop a need for them, and they would. Many individuals are given glasses to correct an eye difficulty at an early age. Left alone, in many cases, the eyes would correct themselves. The glasses can impede any such self-correction by providing a crutch that further weakens eye muscles, for example, and instead fixes the condition. When you believe that only glasses will correct poor vision, then only glasses will. Instead, you must discover the reason for the belief behind the physical poor function or non-function. And if this is done, the condition will automatically clear up. Now, for most people, it is easier to get glasses. It's easier just to get glasses. We will end dictation. Okay, we will be going into the medical profession, and it is too late for that. Now Rupert should go along with the continuing relaxation sessions as they occur, and try to capture his mental state then in ordinary times. And I bid you a fond good evening. Good night, Seth. Thank you very much. Tell him that my energy has always been available to him. He can use it freely and fully. It will not negate or block out my existence. It is available at all times, and it is also his by right and mine by right. It belongs to us, to all beings, by right. It is simply manifested in many ways at many times. And good night. Now, there's just a little in between this, but I'll start with the next session in the next video, but I just want to interject that before I began this session here of reading the book, I didn't feel like, physically I felt like my sinuses were driving me crazy, that I'm allergic to something, and why do I have to feel this way? I was like getting angry at getting sinus congestion so often because it gives me such a terrible headache. And I realized that I've been thinking, yes, and the pills don't really work. That, you know, what I take for it doesn't seem to help. And then I thought, but you know what? I did get a little relief from that Alka-Seltzer for pain and cold that I took, and I'm going to just believe that it will help me tremendously, and I will feel like reading today. Because this has been going on 2 or 3 days, and I haven't even felt like reading and giving one of these book readings. So I concentrated my thought on that little Alka-Seltzer thing is going to work. And I tried to, dismiss all my thoughts that are so easy to have, like you might say to yourself, nothing seems to work. And then, of course, that's what you're going to experience, that nothing seems to work. And it's not wrong to take something you know will make you feel better. And in so doing, I said, I'm going to take that Alka-Seltzer, and I'm going to believe that it's going to make me feel good enough that I can read today. So this is an ongoing thing. Everybody has it. Fighting against the old beliefs that are there, that are just below the surface. Sometimes they have to really concentrate to realize that they're not really believing good things about themselves or about how effective they can be with their thoughts to make themselves feel better. So I just wanted to share that with you, that I believed that would help, and it did. I don't feel so congested right now. And this is the Dove Lady. I'll talk at you the next time. Bye-bye for now.